Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, is a legendary figure who led the nation through its greatest crisis, the Civil War, and is best remembered for ending slavery. But how much do you really know about him? From his unusual height to a surprising lack of middle name, here are 10 important facts about Abraham Lincoln that everyone should know. Number 10, the tallest president. Standing at a towering 6 feet 4 inches, Abraham Lincoln was not only the tallest president, but also one of the tallest people of his time. During his presidency, it was said that visitors to the White House had to duck to avoid hitting their heads on doorframes that were only 7 feet tall. His height made him an imposing figure, which was only enhanced by his lanky frame and long, slender hands and fingers. In fact, his hands were so large that he could not find gloves that fit him. To this day, Lincoln's towering presence continues to be felt, not only in the hearts and minds of Americans, but also in the halls of the White House, where his 6-foot 4-inch ghost is said to roam. No, 9, the first president from outside the original colonies. When Abraham Lincoln became president in 1861, he was the first president to hail from outside the original 13 colonies. Born in a log cabin in Kentucky, Lincoln's ancestors had moved to the Western Territories in search of new opportunities and a better life. This made Lincoln a true pioneer president, one who embodied the westward expansion and manifest destiny that had been shaping the United States since its early days. As the first president from outside the original colonies, Lincoln represented a new era for the country, one that was less bound by the traditions of the past and more focused on the possibilities of the future. No. 8. The only president with a patent. Before entering politics, Abraham Lincoln had a successful career as a lawyer, but he also dabbled in other pursuits, including inventing. In 1849, he was granted a patent for a device he designed to help lift boats over sandbars and rivers. The invention consisted of a series of connected floating chambers that could be filled with water to create buoyancy and lift the boat over the obstruction. While Lincoln's invention was never put into widespread use, it remains an interesting footnote in the history of one of America's most famous presidents, as the only president to hold a patent. Lincoln stands out as a man who was not only a leader of the people, but also a man of innovation and ingenuity. No. 7, he had no middle name. Abraham Lincoln is one of the most well-known figures in American history, but surprisingly, there is one key piece of information that most people don't know about him. He actually had no middle name. Throughout his life, he was simply referred to as Abraham Lincoln. Even his gravestone bears only his first and last names, with no middle name listed. This may seem like a small detail, but in a time when many people had multiple names and were often called by their middle names, it was quite unusual for someone as prominent as Lincoln to have none. It's possible that Lincoln's lack of a middle name was simply an oversight or a quirk of the times. However, it has also been suggested that Lincoln's decision to go without a middle name was a deliberate choice to distinguish himself from others named Abraham and to emphasize his unique identity as an individual. Whatever the reason, Lincoln's middle name remains a mystery, adding another layer of intrigue to the already fascinating life of the 16th president. Number 6, there is no surviving photo of his inauguration. Despite being one of the most iconic images in American history, there is not a single photograph that captures Abraham Lincoln's first inauguration as President of the United States. This may seem hard to believe considering that photography had been around since the 1830s. The first president, George Washington, had been immortalized in a number of paintings and sculptures. However, the technology that would allow for accurate and detailed portraiture was still several decades away, and as a result, no photographs of Lincoln's inauguration exist today. This lack of photographic evidence has left historians and the general public alike wondering what Lincoln and the inaugural ceremonies might have looked like. But it has also given rise to a number of artistic interpretations and speculations about what could have been captured in a photograph if the technology had been available. Ultimately, the absence of a photo of Lincoln's inauguration serves as a reminder of the limitations of the historical record and the challenges of trying to understand the past. No. 5. The Great Emancipator. Abraham Lincoln is widely regarded as the Great Emancipator, the man who ended slavery in the United States. However, it is important to understand the complexities of this issue and the various factors that led to the eventual abolition of slavery. While Lincoln did sign the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, which declared that all slaves in Confederate-held territory should be freed, this action alone did not end slavery. In fact, the proclamation did not apply to areas where slavery was still legal. And it was not until the passage of the 13th Amendment in 1865 that slavery was officially abolished in the United States. Nevertheless, Lincoln's role in ending slavery cannot be overstated. He was the first president to make the issue of slavery a central part of his platform, and he was willing to fight a civil war to preserve the Union and end slavery once and for all. His leadership and determination were instrumental in the eventual abolition of slavery and the passage of the 13th Amendment. Without Lincoln's steadfast commitment to the cause, it is unclear whether slavery would have been abolished when it was. No, for he was assassinated in 1865. Abraham Lincoln's legacy is forever tarnished by the tragedy of his assassination. On April 14, 1865, just days after the end of the Civil War and the emancipation of enslaved people in the United States, Lincoln attended a play at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., with his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, and a group of friends. The performance was a production of Our American Cousin, a comedic play set in New England. However, the evening was cut short when a man named John Wilkes Booth, member of a pro-slavery secret society known as the Conspirators, snuck into Lincoln's box and shot the president in the back of the head. Lincoln was immediately taken to a nearby house, where he died the following morning. Booth, who had fled the scene of the crime, was tracked down by federal agents and killed 12 days later. Lincoln's assassination was a shock to the nation and the world. The president had been revered as a leader who had guided the country through its greatest crisis and had set it on a path toward a brighter future. His untimely death cast a long shadow over the country, and many wondered whether the fragile Union he had fought so hard to preserve would survive. In the aftermath of Lincoln's assassination, his vice president, Andrew Johnson, took over the presidency. Johnson, however, proved to be a controversial figure, and his policies alienated many in Congress, leading to a period of political turmoil known as Reconstruction. Despite the challenges that lay ahead, the country mourned the loss of a great leader and the hope that he had represented. Lincoln's assassination was a tragic end to a remarkable life, but his legacy continues to inspire people around the world. No. 3. His coffin was moved. Abraham Lincoln's final resting place is a testament to both his enduring legacy and the evolving attitudes towards race in America. After his assassination in 1865, Lincoln's body was embalmed and placed in a custom-made coffin, before being returned to his home in Springfield, Illinois, where it was initially buried in Oak Ridge Cemetery. However, in 1901, his remains were disinterred and moved to a newly constructed tomb at the site. This move was prompted in part by the desire to protect Lincoln's grave from potential desecration, as well as to create a more fitting memorial to the beloved president. But it also reflected a growing sense of national pride in Lincoln's legacy, particularly in the context of the growing civil rights movement. By moving Lincoln's remains to a more prominent and secure location, the nation was sending a message that the ideals of equality and justice for which Lincoln had stood were still relevant and important. This decision was not without controversy, as some African Americans argued that Lincoln had not done enough to advance the cause of racial equality during his lifetime. Nevertheless, the move was made, and Lincoln's remains now rest in a magnificent tomb that has become a popular destination for tourists and pilgrims alike. Number 2, he has no living descendants. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, is a legendary figure in American history. But did you know that he has no living descendants? That's right. Although Lincoln had 4 children with his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, none of them survived to adulthood. Robert Todd Lincoln, the youngest of the 4, outlived his father, but passed away in 1926 without any children of his own. This means that there are no living individuals today who can claim to be direct descendants of the former president. There are, of course, many people who are related to Lincoln through marriage or adoption, but none who can trace their lineage directly back to him through blood. This fact is particularly interesting when you consider the length of time that has passed since Lincoln's death. In almost 160 years, the gene pool has had plenty of time to diversify, yet no one alive today can claim to be the president's direct descendant. Some have speculated that this may be due to the hardships faced by Lincoln's family, including the Civil War and the assassination of the president. Others suggest that it may simply be a matter of chance. Whatever the reason, the fact remains that Abraham Lincoln's bloodline ended with him. Number 1. He kept bees as a hobby. One of the lesser-known facts about Abraham Lincoln is that he kept bees as a hobby. While serving as president, he would often take care of 2 hives of bees that were located near the White House. Lincoln was known to be an avid collector of honey and would frequently bring jars of it back to the White House for his family and guests to enjoy. He was particularly fond of a variety of wildflower honey that he dubbed aromatic honey and would often use it to sweeten his tea. In fact, he enjoyed honey so much that he even considered starting a commercial apiary business after leaving office. Though he never did pursue this venture, his love of bees and beekeeping remained throughout his life. So the next time you think of Abraham Lincoln, remember that in addition to being a lawyer and politician, he was also a passionate amateur beekeeper. This is our channel. And if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. We'll see you next time.